Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're all about forging clarity from complexity, really zeroing in on the core wisdom we can pull from our sources. And today, wow, we are immersing ourselves in the really extraordinary philosophy of Admiral William H. McRaven. It's a way of thinking rooted in some serious high-stakes leadership, resilience, and, well, personal strength. Our mission here is pretty focused. We want to extract those high-impact sort of rules of engagement from his work. Specifically, we're digging into the lessons from that famous speech, McRaven, Failure, Strength, and Challenge, and we're pairing those insights with some really foundational quotes from his book, Make Your Bed. The goal for you listening in is simple, really, is to understand how accepting struggle isn't just necessary, but maybe it's actually the fastest path, like the shortcut, to finding out what you're truly capable of. Okay, let's unpack this approach, because it seems counterintuitive, right? To intentionally seek out hardship.
Oh, absolutely. It is completely counterintuitive to, modern life. And I think that's exactly why it's so powerful. The core idea, really, across all of McRaven's material seems to be turning the usual modern mindset on its head. We're generally wired to minimize friction, smooth things over. But McRaven argues pretty strongly that true strength, it's only built through, maximum resistance.
Yeah.
And these lessons, they aren't just theories cooked up somewhere. They come directly from the intense physical, psychological stress of SEAL training. And then, his later high-level leadership roles, this whole philosophy, embrace failure, build strength, conquer challenges. It's a direct reflection of needing to build capability under extreme pressure. You basically had to learn that strength isn't some fixed trait you just have. It's more like a resource you have to constantly build. And how do you build it?
Yeah.
By choosing the path with more difficulty.
Right. So we're not just talking about gritting your teeth and getting through discomfort. It's more active than that. We're talking about intentionally using it.
Yeah.
We all know that phrase, often associated with this kind of thinking, embrace the suck. And yeah, while the source material we're looking at doesn't use those exact words, the message feels identical. That moment of the greatest, most unwanted stress, that's actually your biggest opportunity for, growth. Your evolutionary trigger.
Precisely. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And if we connect this foundational idea back to the listener's goal, maybe getting useful knowledge quickly, this approach is fundamentally about efficiency. Why is suffering the shortcut? Well, think about it. Continuous comfort, it leads to maybe incremental growth, slow improvement at best. But discomfort or, intentional resistance, it forces immediate, almost exponential adaptation. You're basically accelerating the learning curve by maximizing the stressor, the challenge.
Okay, that makes total sense in a tactile environment. I get it. If your life literally depends on getting stronger faster, you pick the hardest training, no question. But how do we translate that, military-grade need for speed into daily life? Like in a professional setting, for example.
Yeah.
Doesn't constantly chasing discomfort just lead to burnout? Isn't there a risk there?
That's a really critical distinction to make.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not about choosing pointless suffering, just making life hard for no reason. It's about choosing intentional resistance. So in the professional world, what does that look like? Maybe it means seeking out the project that stretches your skills way past your comfort zone, or volunteering for that role you feel frankly, a bit unqualified for.
Yeah.
Or maybe just initiating a conversation that you know is going to be difficult but necessary.
Okay. Intentional resistance.
Exactly. McRaven's experience really teaches that without that voluntary step into resistance, you're essentially operating on maintenance mode, not growth mode. If you only ever do tasks, for sure, you can nail perfectly, you just stay exactly who you are right now. To shift from just maintaining to actually accelerating, you have to engage that growth engine. And according to this philosophy, that engine is fueled purely by discomfort.
Okay, so if resistance is the engine, then I guess failure is the inevitable exhaust, isn't it? Because once you accept that struggle as the foundation, you kind of have to define what that struggle looks like in practice. And McRaven is incredibly clear on this. You simply cannot push your limits without, inviting failure in.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting. This is where the analysis shifts from the philosophical idea to, actual actions we can take. And this draws on the specific language in Make Your Bed. So the first really powerful principle about limits, he states it like this. Life is a struggle, and the potential for failure is ever present. Without pushing your limits, you will never know what is truly possible. Yeah, notice the exact phrasing there. It's so important. It's not saying failure might happen sometimes or occasionally. It says the potential for failure is ever present. It's permanently baked into the system if you're living an ambitious life. It's not some weird anomaly you try desperately to avoid. It's actually a boundary condition you have to seek out.
Wow, okay. So failure is a feature, not a bug, if you're aiming high.
Pretty much. If you're ambitious, failure is simply the metric, the signpost, that proves you're operating right at the edge of what you can currently do. And the implication for you, the learner, is actually profound. If you aren't failing at least occasionally, you're probably playing it too safe. Staying within those known comfortable boundaries guarantees comfort, sure, but that comfort also guarantees that your ultimate capacity, what you could achieve, remains forever locked away, undiscovered.
Okay, that raises a necessary friction point for me, though. McRaven's background, it's military, right? Where pushing limits might literally mean physical survival or mission success versus catastrophic failure. In the corporate world, or even just personal life, if I push a limit to the point of failure, let's say I'd launch a product and it just completely bombs, cost the company millions. I mean, the consequence there can feel like professional oblivion.
Yeah.
Is this philosophy maybe too aggressive for non-military life? Does it risk self-destruction instead of building resilience?
That's a crucial question, it really is. It's about balance. McRaven isn't advocating for just being reckless, throwing caution to the wind. He's identifying the difference between quitting, just giving up, and genuinely failing right at your limit. Failure at the limit, that's an information-rich event. It's gold. It gives you critical data on exactly where your current system, your current approach broke down. Professional oblivion, it usually comes not from the failure itself, but from the inability or maybe the unwillingness to recover and actually learn from it.
Ah, okay. So the failure is the data point. The reaction is the key.
Precisely. The ability to discover what is truly possible for you hinges entirely on being willing to face that high-stakes boundary sometimes. If you deliberately avoid any scenario where significant professional failure is even a possibility, you are consciously, maybe even unconsciously, capping your potential at mediocrity. It forces a tough realization, doesn't it? You have to choose to push or accept that your deepest capacity remains locked away, unknown.
Yeah, that really lands. Okay, so this philosophical acceptance of failure, it leads us straight to that inevitable moment when you do push, you hit that limit, and the system does break. Things go wrong. What happens next? I mean, how do you actually move past that moment of maybe maximum pain or embarrassment or just feeling awful? McRaven provides a really vivid, maybe slightly horrifying metaphor for that inescapable setback, the sugar cookie. Now, before we break down the recovery steps he outlines, can you just explain what the sugar cookie actually was in SEAL training? Because it sounds unpleasant, like a painful form of public shaming.
Oh, it was exactly that. Yeah, it was ritualistic, it was public, and it was utterly miserable. It was a consequence for failing to meet a standard. This often happened during the really grueling physical training, especially Hell Week. So if you failed an inspection, maybe your weapon wasn't clean enough, or you missed a time standard on a run or an obstacle course, you'd be ordered to immediately jump into the freezing cold Pacific Ocean. Then you had to crawl out and just roll around in the sand until you were completely coated, head to toe, like literally a human sugar cookie. Yeah. You were then a walking sugar cookie, freezing cold, chafing from the sand and wet clothes, weighed down, and just deeply uncomfortable for hours, maybe the rest of the day. It represented the ultimate humiliating failure, the kind where everyone knows you messed up, even if you genuinely tried your absolute hardest. It didn't matter how hard you tried sometimes. And the lesson that follows this experience, that's the core recipe for resilience. So here's the second pivotal quote we need to look at. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you still end up as a sugar cookie. Don't complain, don't blame it on your misfortune. Stand tall, look to the future, and drive on.
Wow. Okay, that gives us 5 direct commands, right? Like a blueprint for how to respond when that inevitable failure hits.
Yeah.
This feels very structured, very actionable, goes way beyond just vague platitudes about getting back up. And the first 2 are the most fascinating. They're prohibitions. They're about stopping negative thought patterns before they even start.
That's exactly right. And the psychological power of those 2 it really can't be overstated. When you fail, especially badly, the immediate internal reaction is often deflection, right? Or maybe self-pity. Why me? This isn't fair. McRaven commands us to just stop those motions entirely. First, do not complain about the discomfort about the situation. This stops you from just ruminating, going over and over the unfairness of it all. Complaining, it turns your energy inward and just dissipates it. It achieves nothing.
Right, it's wasted energy.
Totally wasted. Second, do not blame it on your misfortune. Now, this one is the real killer of growth. Blaming external factors, oh, it was the weather, or my manager is biased, or the economic climate just sucks, that allows you to completely abdicate responsibility. It lets you conclude there was nothing you could have done differently. If it's just misfortune, well, there's no lesson to learn, is there? You just wait for better luck next time.
And that prohibition is so powerful because if you actually stop yourself from blaming misfortune, the only option left is to look inward. You almost have to ask, okay, what was within my control here? Even if external factors genuinely played a part, this forces the learning mechanism to kick in.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You shift the focus immediately from the external unfairness, which you can't control, to the internal response, which you can. And only once those two backward-looking prohibitions are firmly established, only then can you actually move forward effectively with the 3 action steps.
Okay, let's break down those final 3 actions then. They feel like the practical mechanism for the actual recovery, for moving forward.
Right. So the first action step is stand tall. This is both physical and mental. It's the act of taking ownership. You acknowledge the reality, okay, I'm a freezing, chafing sugar cookie right now, metaphorically or literally. This failure is mine to bear. Standing tall means facing the situation squarely without minimizing the pain or the consequence, but also without wallowing.
Okay, acknowledge and own it.
Then, the 4th step overall is look to the future. This is about maintaining mission focus. It means keeping your eyes on the long-term goal. You refuse to let this momentary setback, however painful, define the entire journey, the entire trajectory. Your focus isn't the sand currently stuck to your face, it's the objective that still needs to be reached later today or next month or next year.
Keep the big picture in mind.
Yes, and the final command, probably the most famous, drive on. This just encapsulates the sheer willpower required. It's about continuing to move, continuing to put in effort when everything in your body and mind is probably screaming at you to just stop, to quit, to curl up.
Just keep going.
Drive on is pure resilience in action. It's the command to continue executing the mission, whatever that is, regardless of the discomfort, the embarrassment, or the weight of the failure you're carrying. It is the immediate, non-negotiable activation of effort. It's forward motion. So if we map this to a modern example, say, a massive budget overrun on a critical project you're leading, what do? You don't complain about the difficult market conditions making sales hard. That's prohibition 1. You don't blame the junior team member who maybe messed up a spreadsheet. It's prohibition 2. Instead, you stand tall, you own the failure in your report to stakeholders, action 1. You immediately focus on damage control, recovery plans, what happens next, action 2, look to the future. And you start implementing the necessary fixes and adjustments immediately. Pushing the team forward, action 3, drive on, see. It's a complete recipe for turning a potential disaster into a springboard.
That provides such an actionable framework, doesn't it? For you, the listener, when that inevitable setback hits big or small, instead of maybe spending 2 days just stewing or blaming, you've got this 5-step mental checklist to move straight into productive recovery. It's incredibly practical.
It really is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, kind of zoom out, what we've distilled today are essentially the foundational pillars for accelerating your own potential. Pillar 1, strength is built intentionally in discomfort, never in comfort. You have to seek it out. Pillar 2, your true potential, what you're really capable of, is only revealed by pushing your limits, often right to the point of failure. And Pillar 3, when that failure inevitably happens, because it will, you have to consciously refuse the mental traps of complaining and blaming. Instead, you activate ownership, maintain focus on the future, and just drive on. You use the failure to propel yourself forward.
Yeah, these lessons feel really robust, really solid, partly because they target that fundamental human urge we all have, the urge to avoid pain, avoid difficulty. McRaven essentially teaches us that pain, that struggle, isn't some detour you try to navigate around. It is the main road. It's the road to discovery. So maybe we leave you with this final provocative thought to consider, something to mull over. If failure is actually a guaranteed and even necessary part of growth, if it's really the only way to truly measure and expand what is possible for you, then what specific important limit are you going to push today? Not necessarily aiming to succeed this time, maybe just pushing it simply to discover the true measure of your own capacity. What could that look like for you? Something to think about. Go forth. Maybe embrace an intentional challenge, however small, and keep exploring these powerful themes of strength and resilience. We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.